All right. So, Ron, a lot of advisors, me included, we use different tools, financial planning tools like eMoney or Right Capital or Holistic Plan for the tax planning or one of the, wealth.com or some of those things for estate planning. But what made you decide to take the extra step of taking the information in the deliverable from those places and then creating kind of like a custom branded deliverable? Why do you do that in the business? What have you seen from doing that?
So a couple of things. One, from a communication perspective, if you put a name to something, right?
Hmm.
The advisor value formula, the future of advice, the purpose-driven planning system, it helps take an intangible and make it tangible. Number one,
Hmm.
it gives somebody an anchor point that they can reference to. Oh, I went through this process, right? So what I realized when I was starting LifeWorks, and I think I actually stumbled into this. This wasn't, like I was some genius content creator. But what I started realizing is as I was using eMoney and all these different tools to do financial planning, I kept coming back to like, what is the one thing that almost every client really wants to know? Right. And
Hmm.
so taking something out of a third party software and sticking it into my own branded deliverable made it my advice to them. It wasn't a third party software. It wasn't, oh, this is this tool, right? When you make it about the tool or a third party software, it devalues the fact that it was me, the advisor,
Hmm.
that asked the right questions, that dug in correctly, that was leading this conversation. So it allowed me to answer questions that were the most important to the client in their words and phrases. And it came from me, not eMoney or Right Capital or like pick whichever one.
Yeah.
The second thing that I found in this journey, or I guess it'd be the third thing, because the first is you name it, the second is allowed me to put it in their words. The third thing is that let's get really honest. Most of the tech in the wealth tech space, this isn't true for all of them, but most of the technology was designed to be used by financial advisors, and it doesn't oftentimes have the most seamless user interface or design. I'll pick on eMoney. We use eMoney. We have an enterprise license. I think it's probably one of the most powerful software platforms out there for financial planning. But if somebody's been using a really cool modern fintech for budgeting or for aggregating their
Hmm.
accounts or doing different things, they're going to get in there and be like, "Man, this feels like it's 10 years old."
Hmm.
Right? Our tech that we use as advisors is designed sometimes to give us really technical answers, lots of charts, graphs, and spreadsheets, the ability to do analysis. I don't think it was oftentimes built with the end user in mind. And so my
Yeah.
experience too is that if I'm trying to put my tech, you know, e-money and this up against, a direct to consumer fintech, there's oftentimes no competition, right? So I just found these three things.
Yeah.
One, I can name the process. This is the LifeWorks fill in the blank. Two, it allowed me to answer the questions specifically and deliver the advice that the client was looking for without having to be like, we're going to go through 16 different screens. And then the third one is it just kept me out of relying on the technology or trying to sell the technology as some differentiator, right? In fact, here's the language that I would use. I would say to a client, look, my team has access to a lot of very powerful financial planning and tax projection software. This is our best thinking and the summary of the work we've done. If you need to or you want to go deeper and see the charts, graphs, spreadsheets, the underlying work product, happy to do that. Wait, Dave, you know how many clients took me up on that offer? Like
One,
almost none. Yeah,
the
almost none.
engineer. Yeah.
The engineer, that would be that's the stereotype. That would be like, yes, please let me see every chart, graph, and spreadsheet you can create. But for the vast
Yeah.
majority, they're like, give me the summary and tell me what you found. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just simplifies it. It's like more of their language.
Yes.
Say, I didn't mention Orion, but yeah, you get in there and it's a wall of numbers, pretty much whatever
Hmm.
screen you're on. There's two screenshots we'll use for every review meeting. The most important one, and advisors, you probably know this. Um, it's like, where did I start? Like, what's the number I started with? Where am I now? Hopefully it's higher, maybe not. So what's the difference? That alone,
Hmm.
especially during a bad time, they've been working
Yes.
with you for 5 years and we just went through a really bad quarter. Zoom out a little bit. Hey, here's where you were 5 years
Yes.
ago. Here you are.
Yeah.
It's that we did a video one time that it's the Dan Sullivan gap in the gain, right? It's like
Oh, love
it's
that.
so easy you started here, you went up to here, and then you went down a little bit. It's so easy to just focus. I had this and now I'm at here. Well, really,
Hmm.
You're from
Yeah.
you're from here.
Mr.
You're actually
Client, you're
ahead.
still
So
up 300% over the last 7 years. So you're fine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So what about like so naming it, I agree. Something that's it's kind of like it's proprietary if you can name it. Are you actually how important is the trademark, an actual trademark if you're naming things?
Um, I think that if you are trying to grow an enterprise and you see scaling something that you're building beyond you, probably makes sense to invest in an actual registered mark. We've done that with logo, taglines, and a handful of other like LifeWorks processes that we've named. I would say on average, it probably costs us twelve to $15,000 in legal fees to have a competent IP attorney do it. So if it's just something where, if you're a starting advisor or you're leaving a big firm and starting your own RIA, I would not don't even worry about trying to get a trademark or a registered mark on your logo or something like that. Most states adopt like kind of this policy of like you're using it in business. And even if you wind up with a name that maybe somebody else is using in another state, it's generally still okay. So I would not spend a lot of time here. I do think that if you have something, an example of this would be I was interviewing Marty Bicknell a couple of years ago, right after he became one of our lead investors. And I asked him why he invested in LifeWorks. And he goes, well, you guys are building the future of advice. And I was like, that one I could see having a long-term use case, both with clients and with advisors. And so we went out there and got the registered mark. We own the rights to the use of the future of advice for everything basically in wealth management and financial education. I don't think you need to worry about it, right?
Okay.
I think that
Yeah.
if you're going to be marketing it in a broad spectrum, maybe like paid ads or something like this, it might not hurt to spend a few $1,000s with an IP attorney to make sure you're not stepping into somebody else's mark.
Mhm.
We've done that before too, where we've engaged this, IP attorney group that we use to make sure, hey, we're about to spend, $20,000, $30,000 marketing this campaign that we're seeing works. It uses some of these phrases. Is there anything that you can find? And they have databases they can search through for this, but in general, for most advisors, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
advisors who are in the future advice in the academy, go to the client experience. I'll put it up on the screen, client experience investment planning template to get the exact template to use. Or if you want to see what Ron's talking about here,
Yep.
how he's
Yep.
simplified his deliverables.